everybody, and welcome back to the United Stand. On today's show, we have Rasmus Hojlund to West Ham. Amorim demands a striker. Both Rasmus Hojlund and Joshua Zirkzee deemed not good enough to be Ruben Amorim's number 9 by the manager himself, as he demands a striker in the summer. We know this. Gyökeres, Harry Kane's come up on the agenda. Would you want him at Manchester United? That's a throwback. Is that the type of signing you want to bring into the club? Also, it is revealed what is Amorim's priority positions for the summer, where Manchester United need to strengthen. Do you agree? Do you not agree? Some news on even Mateta from Crystal Palace is being scouted and looked at by Manchester United for a striker option. Let me know your thoughts. Is Rasmus being sold too soon? If we do sell him in the summer, is it a mistake? Should we be fixing the positions around him, or do we actually need that striker to score the goals? Or can it be a combination of both? Also, if you're wondering why it's not Goldbridge, just go and check his Twitter. I've had to fill in tonight because he's absolutely steaming. He's going off on one on Twitter. He's had about 10 beers. He's not Copa's meant us to do a show. So I'm here for the news, but get your comments in. We've also got some hot takes put in by you guys as well. Matt, our graphics guy, did a hot takes like question and answer on the Instagram, the United Stand Instagram, and there were some wild shouts in there, so I thought I'm bringing that into the show and I'm getting your opinions on it, and we can run some polls and see if you agree or disagree with these hot takes surrounding Manchester United. But welcome to the evening show, everyone. A little bit early because we know Spurs and Liverpool are kicking off at 8 and some people might go and watch that. But if you're a United fan, you love the United Stand, you'll stay with us on the show and discuss the Manchester United latest news. But let's get into it. So, Ruben Amorim does not believe Rasmus Hojlund or Joshua Zirkzee have a long-term future at the club and has asked for a deadly number 9 to be captured this summer. West Ham have identified Rasmus Hojlund as a potential transfer target, and Manchester United are ready to sell him for around £40 million plus bonuses. Do you think Rasmus Hojlund's worth £40 million for starters? Manchester United originally paid £72 million to Atalanta for Rasmus Hojlund. Now, looking back at that deal, Manchester United overpaid. Ineos were not in the club at that point. They weren't negotiating, they weren't doing the business. It was John Murtough, if my memory serves me correctly. And Rasmus Hojlund was a really interesting prospect at the time, and I was happy when we signed him. But when we originally got linked to him, I genuinely did think 30 to 35 million pounds at the time. When we paid 72 million, I mean, I think most of our faces were like, that is a lot for a player that had played half a season in Serie A and scored 8 or 9 goals, I think it was. A young, raw striker. He is exciting. He has got attributes. He has got potential. I still believe there is potential there for Rasmus Hojlund. I really do still believe that there's potential there. I remember when he went on that run last season, he scored a few games in a row. I think he was the youngest player to have scored 3 games in a row for Manchester United, something along them lines. What's worrying to me is it feels like he's regressed. Like last season, you could see glimpses, the Champions League. He went through that spell after Christmas. You could see glimpses into Rasmus Hojlund of a really interesting player and a player with potential and prospect. This season, he's just not looked up to it whatsoever. And I do think it looks like he's regressed. Whereas a player at his age looks like they should be progressing. Now, I think Manchester United have not done what's needed to help Rasmus. They should have brought in an experienced striker in the summer. Absolutely no doubts about that. They brought him in, and as much as Anthony Martial was the senior player and, in my opinion, the better player, he was injured the whole of last season. So Rasmus Hojlund had to play week in, week out. He's our only number 9 option. We often said in the striker training, and when they go off into the little groups in the positions, it'd just be him on his own. He was the only player there, 20 years old, leading that line for Manchester United. You come into this summer, and the majority of fans said, I mean, most people could see it, Hojlund's got potential, but we need to get in an experienced striker to help him out. He needs someone to learn from. He needs the burden to be taken off him. He needs to be coming on for 20 minutes at the end of the game here and there. I remember at the end of last season when Erik ten Hag actually started using Bruno Fernandes as a false 9, and Hojlund was coming off the bench for 20 minutes, and he looked really impactful, and it looked like it was helping him build his confidence, because confidence is so key for a young player. I mean, look at Alexander Isak when he came into Newcastle. He had Callum Wilson there. Callum Wilson, granted, was injury prone, and now obviously Isak is the guy, But even he was like, you know, getting the nod over Isak a lot of the time, and Isak had to come in and take his opportunity, and he's just gone and flourished from that. You need competition as a striker, but you don't need competition with no disrespect to Joshua Zirkzee, who isn't really pulling up trees. You need someone there who's going to teach you. You need a bagsman. You need that number 9. You need to be working under a player that knows what it takes to go and score 20 goals in the Premier League. And he's just not had that. He's just not had that in Manchester United, and I think that's where we have failed him, to be honest with you, as well. I have started to doubt whether he's going to reach that top level this season because you've just not seen it. And like I said, even last year, I thought his hold-up play at times looked a bit better than it does now. Maybe that's lack of confidence, and confidence is so massive when it comes to a striker. But the question I put to you is, would you cash in on Rasmus Hojlund for £40 million in the summer? Would you let him go to a Premier League club like West Ham, who are on the hunt for a striker, by the way? They were sniffing around Marcus Rashford, even though I don't think Marcus Rashford's really a striker. I see him more as a winger. Would you let Rasmus Hojlund go? Let's run a poll on it. Would you sell Rasmus Hojlund in the summer for £40 million? Would that be a good deal for Manchester United? Would you cut your losses? There was a conversation around who's going to go, because a striker's coming in. A striker's coming into this football club in the summer. Who it'll be? Will it be Gyökeres? Will it be Osimhen? Will it be Harry Kane? Will it be Mateta from Crystal Palace? We'll get into that in a second. Will it be someone we don't even know about yet? But a striker will be coming into this football club. As it says there, Ruben Amorim does not believe Rasmus Hojlund or Joshua Zirkzee have long-term futures as a deadly number 9. And we always thought one has to go, Rasmus Hojlund or Joshua Zirkzee. What if they both end up going? And Ruben Amorim just says, you know what, you've not done enough. I mean, he's already benched them both for a midfielder to start up front. Ruben Amorim might just say, look, both of you aren't really in my plans. You've not proved yourself over the course of this season. Would you cash in on both? Would you cash in on one? What would you do? Let me know in the comments. I've said multiple times, if it carries on the way it is now with Joshua Zirkzee and Rasmus Hojlund, I would scout out offers for Joshua Zirkzee from Italy in the summer, see if there's interest still there, because I do think you could get the money back that you paid. We didn't overpay for Joshua Zirkzee. That's the kind of saving grace in that transfer. Is I think we actually went for it because it was a cheap option, to be honest with you. I think that's what led us down that route. We were looking at Sesko, it was looking a little bit expensive. Joshua Zirkzee, he had that release clause. We paid a little bit more to pay it in instalments. And I think they saw a prospect, similar attributes to what we were losing with Martial, but not as good, in my opinion. And someone who could probably work in Erik ten Hag's system, who was massively reliant on wingers to score his goals. Joshua Zirkzee dropping in. And with that hold-up play, that link-up play to the wingers, I could see where they were going with it, but it's just not worked out. I do think, Ricky, don't shoot me, in a bit of a slower-paced league like Serie A, where he did really well last season, you could get the money back for him. Rasmus Hojlund, I've said it time and time again, and people say you can't do it with a £72 million striker. By the way, Al Nassr bought John Duran for less than what we bought Rasmus Hojlund for, which is crazy. I mean, we're going to talk about the strikers on offer in the summer, but Gyökeres, you can get him for less than what we paid for Rasmus Hojlund. Osimhen's release clause is less than what we paid for Rasmus Hojlund. Like, we overpaid there. So it's mad to say you need to send him out on loan. But I would genuinely want to send Rasmus Hojlund out on loan. I've said it before. Like, he needs to go out on loan to maybe a lower Premier League club, although we're quite low in the table right now. I'd still keep him in English football. I'd go for a Premier League club. Where he's going to play, that's another question. And I think a loan would benefit him massively. I really do. Or you bring in that Gyökeres, Osimhen type, and hopefully he develops as that second choice striker. I don't think I would want to fully cut ties and completely sell him in the summer, because I have seen glimpses into Hojlund where you think he could be a player. And there's also that discussion about service, and we should see what he's like once we've bettered the other positions in our team and the team is functioning better. We're creating more chances. We're keeping possession better in the final third. We're working the ball better. And then maybe judge him a little bit more. I think it would be a little bit early with Rasmus at 22, with the attributes he's got, for in the summer to be like, you're sold. But do we need to be cutthroat? And do we have time to wait? What would you do? Would you loan? Would you sell? Would you sell him to West Ham? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because the poll is now running. We've got Savage saying, but no obligation to buy. I don't want Hojlund to go so soon. Send Rasmus to Arsenal in there. I mean, I've seen some people say that. Whenever I say, what Premier League clubs would Hojlund and Xerxes actually start for, I've seen a couple of people always say Arsenal because of their striker situation, but you actually look through the whole league, there's not many. There's really not many. You are struggling. You have Jens Silverson saying Hojlund was the highest conversion rate in the Prem last year. If we sell, I will cry. No service, no striker in the world would score in this team. Sully Jr. says Rasmus needs development. We haven't got the patience. Z3 Music says, lest we forget, always remember the flowers of Manchester. Very, very well said. Well, I wanted to bring in a different kind of perspective. So I'll get into the news about Gyökeres, Osimhen, Harry Kane, and even Mateta in a second. But this was a different perspective, and I saw this comment actually. This comment was on the presser reaction that I did in the afternoon, and I looked through the comments, see people's feedback, and I thought this was a really interesting comment, so I'd bring it into the show. One of you lovely viewers did comment, you'd think Manchester United was in Arsenal's position. This squad needs a goalkeeper, another left-footed centre-back, another left-footed wide player, another right-footed wide player, another 6, another 8, and another 10 before you start worrying about bringing in a top-class striker. I'm so tired of this club stunting the growth of young players and halting the careers of established strikers. Fix the positions behind the striker first, and then when the top-class striker is brought in, the player can have maximum impact. And I thought that was a really interesting comment, because I've said multiple times I think you can live in two worlds. You can live in a world where we're not creating enough for the striker and our starting 11, to be honest, isn't doing enough and isn't at the level and quality it needs. But you can also be in a position where your striker's not doing enough. They're not making the right runs. They've not got the anticipation. They've not got that, striker's kind of, that striker's instinct in front of goal, that Cavani-esque striker's instinct where you just know where to be, right place, right time, hold up play as well, linking the play up, making the right runs to create space for your other forward players. And I think we live in a world where Hojlund and Xerxes, to be honest, aren't cutting it, and they aren't even top half of the table strikers right now. But also the rest of our 11, most of them aren't cutting it either. So that's something for you to discuss in the chat. I'd love to know what the poll is saying right now on would you sell Rasmus Hojlund in the summer. Wow, it's 51%, yes, so it's very, very 50-50. Well, let's get into the news about the other strikers and who could potentially be his replacement. Another poll we could maybe run up is who would you rather sell, Xerxes or Hojlund? Because at least one of them has to go. So maybe let that run for another couple of minutes and then, we've just ended it, that's fine. So would you sell Hojlund for 40 million in the summer? Yes, 51%, no, 48%. Would you rather sell Hojlund or Xerxes or both? Let's have both as an option because, like I said, Ruben Amorim, very high likelihood he might decide both of them aren't good enough. You go and get in a top-class striker and maybe we do our Jason Wilcox, Christopher Vivell of it all and go and get in another young prospect that's on the cheap, that can learn under that experienced striker. That could also happen. We're going to have a squad transformation in the upcoming windows under Ruben Amorim from what you can gather from his comments as well. So, like I was saying, talking about the other strikers, I think it's very, very clear now from the news that has been put out there that Ruben Amorim's top 2 priority positions for the summer, you could argue top 3 actually, are without a doubt a striker. Laurie Whitwell said in The Athletic that we were going for a striker in the summer. I think that's number 1 priority and number 1 target. Everyone's saying that Manchester United is going to go get a striker in the summer. I mean, that was what the brief was when the transfer window ended and it was pretty lacklustre. That's all started coming out. We're going to get a striker in the summer. If we don't, there'll be uproar. That is the number 1. Right wing back is also the other position that Manchester United and Ruben Amorim is specifically pushing for. We've all seen the flaws in the current wing back setup. I think it's massively holding us back. I think it's massively holding this system back. The lack of wing backs that suit the profiles of what Ruben Amorim needs and the attributes that he needs from his wide players. We've got Patrick Dorgo in for the left wing back area, thankfully. Right wing back is absolutely getting addressed in the summer. We've got some Kenda news to actually bring in, and also Flamenco right back as well we're now looking at over in Brazil. So I'll bring that in. Manchester United, it's coming out a couple of names now that we're scouting for that position for the summer. Really important position in a Ruben Amorim system, and that's definitely a position that he's pushing. So striker and wing back, right wing back are absolutely up there. And I'd also say left-sided 10 as well, just because of Ruben Amorim's potential willingness to sell Garnacho. I know it's kind of shifted a little bit, but I do think he'll be eyeing up a left-sided 10 if Garnacho doesn't massively improve. And obviously we know Mason Mount can't stay fit for anything. Like, you can't rely on him. So that's another position that's definitely up there in the summer. I remember when Ruben Amorim first came in as well, and I remember reading a news article, and it's not really come back round since, but it was saying how much Ruben Amorim, when he first came into the team, realised he needs to upgrade his number 10 positions in this Manchester United team to players that have the technical ability to do what he wants them to do just behind the striker in them positions in his system. So on the striker situation, Hojlund could be going, Xerxes could be going, West Ham in for Rasmus Hojlund, 40 million. I don't know how that would work with amortisation, by the way, because we did buy him for 72, but United might just cut the losses and say, we'll get 40 back in and we'll move on. When it comes to strikers that we'll bring in, I'm going to run a poll on this in a second as well, but I'll just let the Hojlund and Xerxes poll marinate. But I'll just read out some information for you. Victor Gyökeres from Sporting Lisbon, £60 million is the gentleman's agreement and the expected price that Victor Gyökeres is going to leave Manchester United, going to leave Sporting Lisbon for. We all know about the gentleman's agreement with Sporting Lisbon that Victor Gyökeres has. He's going to leave the club in the summer, and for around £60 million, that is a fantastic price for a striker of his calibre that's scoring the amount of goals and has the goal attributions that he's got in Europe right now. So, and the obvious connection to Ruben Amorim as well. You also have on there Victor Osimhen, £63 million release clause. So he's one that I know a lot of you guys have been looking at for a long time and is constantly been linked to Manchester United. Remember when Ben Jacobs came on the show and said Victor Osimhen was very, very, very close to signing for Manchester United, but Odion Ighalo told him not to because he needed to go and get game time elsewhere and he wasn't sure about the game time situation. So he has been on Manchester United's radar for a long time, and Ben Jacobs confirmed that he would be a dream signing for Manchester United. They've always liked him and they've always scouted him. So Victor Osimhen's one to watch as well. Also, a little bit of stats regarding Victor Osimhen. Victor Osimhen has averaged over 0.5 goals per 90 in every single league campaign that he has played since turning 21. 0.57 in the first season, 0.64 in the second season, 0.91 in the third season, 0.68 in the fourth season, and 0.90 now in his fifth season playing in Turkey. The first four were obviously in Italy. The fifth was in Turkey. That conversion rate in terms of goals over a consistent basis puts him right up there as a top target, in my opinion. Because what Manchester United are crying out for is a bagsman. Someone who you know is consistently going to score you goals. If they're not going to turn up for a month for the season, they're not going to turn up for a season and then go off the ball. They're not going to score 30 goals one season and then 4 the next. I need a consistent bagsman. I need somebody who's consistently putting goals in the back of the net for Manchester United. And Victor Osimhen there over every single league campaign he's played since turning 21 has just been absolutely killing it and scoring goals consistently. So you know you are getting goals from him. Of course, the Premier League, it's a different league. But I just see a player of his qualities and his attributes thriving in a league like this. Yes, we need to improve our service. I know there'll be comments like that. We know that. But he's pacey, he's physical, he bullies defenders. Like, some of the goals I've seen him score, by the way, for Napoli have just been insane. Like the angles that he manages to find. So Victor Osimhen is very, very high up on my list. I know everyone's like Gyökeres because he's worked with Amorim before and he's been proven to be successful under Amorim. But Osimhen is a serious player and his release clause is £63 million. That's someone you've got to be looking at if you're Manchester United in the summer. And then there was a little bit of news also coming out around Harry Kane. And basically, it was revealed today by Sky Sports that Harry Kane, 31 years old, has a 67 million release clause this summer and a 54 million pound release clause in the January of next year. So, like, basically, just under a year away. The January transfer window that's just been, the next January transfer window, it drops down to 54 million pounds. Harry Kane was obviously on Manchester United's agenda the summer that we went and got Rasmus Hojlund, but he was too expensive. Daniel Levy put the price up massively for Premier League clubs, so we didn't go there. But is he someone you'd want at Manchester United? I'm going to be honest, as much as I wanted Harry Kane that summer when we bought Rasmus Hojlund, and I was screaming and shouting it from the rooftops, I was on this channel, you all clown me for Onana, you all clown me for Mason Mount, but what you don't do is remember that when a lot of people were campaigning for Rasmus Hojlund, don't get me wrong, I was excited about Rasmus Hojlund, I was very clear that Harry Kane or Victor Osimhen should have been our go-to. Someone who was proven who would score goals. And I remember, Goldbridge running polls on the United stand and people were voting Hojlund over Kane at the time, and I couldn't believe my eyes. That's no disrespect to Hojlund, he's got prospect, he's got potential, but we needed that elite level striker now. We've ended up spending, Harry Kane was what, £100 million? We ended up spending £100 million altogether on Hojlund and Xerxes, and you put the two of them together and they couldn't lace Harry Kane's boots. So, but times change. At that moment in time, I would have wanted him. Now, in this Amorim system, does Amorim want someone that's going to drop deep? I mean, Harry Kane's class no matter what. And also he's 31. And, he's gone over to Bayern Munich. And Fabrizio Romano also put something out about Harry Kane that I'll bring up in a second. And then I'll get your chats in. Fabrizio Romano said about Harry Kane's situation, Harry Kane currently not planning to leave Bayern in the summer and very happy at the club. The release clause is valid for €65 million only in January 2026, as Bild revealed. Premier League clubs are aware, but no contact so far. Tottenham have matching rights and Kane has the final say. I just don't see that as the route that Ineos are trying to go down. First of all, Ineos are trying to go for younger players and younger talents that have longevity at the football club. Second of all, you have that quote of, we won't go and buy Mbappe, we'll find the next Mbappe. I just don't see us spending 55 million on a player that's going to be 32 at the time. I just don't see it. So I thought I'd bring it in because he started getting linked to Manchester United and I'd like to hear your opinions on it. And I do think it was a mistake when we didn't go for him originally. But that was years ago now. We've moved on. And I think a Gyökeres or an Osimhen would be more suited to what Manchester United are trying to do at this moment in time, moving forward and for our future. Just looking at the age of Victor Osimhen, I'm pretty sure he's still only 25, which is mental. He's 26, just turned 26, Victor Osimhen, so that's the perfect age to come into this Manchester United team. And let me just quickly double check the age of Gyökeres. Gyökeres is also 26. He's like half a year older than Osimhen. So both of them ready to enter their prime as Manchester United are eyeing up both strikers. So would you rather sell Hojlund, Xerxes or both? Let me get your thoughts in here. So you've got 19% say Hojlund, 41% say Xerxes and 41% say both. So basically, no one's sold on any of our current striker options, which to me leans towards both. But if you had to sell one, it's obviously going to be Xerxes by the poll, which is what I said. Loan out Hojlund, sell Xerxes. Don't think either of them are going to be good enough start of next season. And we need players that are good enough. Now, I want to run a poll. You've got the money in the summer to spend. You've got 60 to 70 million to go and buy a striker for Manchester United. By the way, that actually is the fact that Osimhen, Gyökeres and even Kane are going to be available for under 70 million. Even, to be fair, we could probably rule Kane out because he's not going to decide to leave and United aren't going to go there. But I'll put him into the conversation just to spice things up and see what people's thoughts are. But the fact you've got like Osimhen and Gyökeres on the market for under 70 million, considering what players have gone for in recent times and the market values of certain players, a lot of you guys wanted £70 million for Alejandro Garnacho, and so did I, to be fair. Like, that price is good for players of them qualities that are going to come in and be ready now to go and be your number 9. So if you had the money ready to go, you were doing the negotiations, you were in talks with Ruben Amorim, and you were doing the recruitment for Manchester United, who would you go for as priority? Would you go for Gyökeres? Would you go for Osimhen? Or would you go for Kane? Let me know. And do you know what I've just realised as well? I forgot to even bring up Mateta, because there's news coming out about Mateta as well. I'll bring him in a second. We've got some super chats in. Want to keep getting your thoughts in as the show progresses. Get it interactive. I'm surprised Golbridge hasn't come in absolutely off his rocker yet, talking about how we can't sell Hojlund on a super chat or something, seeing as he's had quite a few beers this evening. Lee Cape Town says, everybody, what's the obsession with a new striker? First sort out the slow and laborious midfield, then we will see a real difference. Bloody hell. We still need a senior striker. Even though we need to sort out the midfield, we still need to sort out. We still need to sort out up front as well. You know, it's like having a leaky roof, but then also, you know, windows that aren't properly sealed, so all the cold's coming through. Like, both need fixing. Like, you can't just prioritise one. Both of them need fixing, and that's the position Manchester United are in. And also, Ruben Amorim has identified a top striker as first priority for the summer. So you're going off what the manager wants as well. Nathan Thomas says, Xerxes and Hojlund together cost us 108.5 million, and Osimhen and Gyökeres could cost us 123 million in the summer. It's crazy to think how much we've overpaid in the past, isn't it? That 72 million on Hojlund really was a lot. Xerxes was not too shabby, but he doesn't really offer much. But Hojlund should have been 30 odd himself, really, looking back. But Ineos have got a new recruitment team together now. They are negotiating better. We negotiated well for Patrick Dorgu. We negotiated well for our signings in the summer. That De Ligt one was great. The Mazraoui one was great. We did end up paying quite a bit for Ugarte, to be fair, but I think as a 23-year-old with a long-term future in this team, it wasn't too bad. Probably overpaid for Euro a bit, to be fair, but Real Madrid were in and we kind of had to do something. So we've not absolutely gone crazy and completely misjudged a transfer yet under Ineos. So you can't really blame them for the mistakes of the old regime. We've got Lee Cape Town saying we need to intensify our game. We need pressing, energetic, creative midfielders. Our striker is not the main problem. They don't get service. Atomic Splash says, how sad is it that a club we have no patience for young strikers because the management couldn't scout the right type of strikers. A lot of issues that have happened in the past of this football club. Keil Robinson says, sell both, get Osimhen and promote Obi Martin. Forgot about Cheeto. I think Cheeto should get minutes between now and the end of the season. Hojlund and Xerxes aren't pulling up trees. Obi Martin's killing it in the academy. He was brought in with the optimism that he'd become a third choice striker anyway in the first team. They wanted to embed him. He looks like a unit. He's someone to definitely watch out for. Damien Gilbert says, look at Haaland, no service, no goals. Right. I want to squash this right now. Yeah, I get that. You always got to provide the striker with service. But Hojlund or Xerxes could not lace Haaland's boots. Haaland is morally in every level. And I don't like to say it, but it's true. His aerial presence, his timing when he's jumping for a header, his presence in the box, the runs he makes, the positions he takes up, the way he holds the ball, the pace that he has to get in behind. To be fair, Hojlund has pace. But the ability to know when to make the run at the right time. Yeah, okay, if you cut off his supply, he's going to struggle. But Haaland's just on a different planet. Jen Silverstone says, Hojlund has the highest conversion rate. I've done that as well. He has got the highest conversion rate, and that's, I've always said about Hojlund, even though he doesn't get many shots and he doesn't take many shots, when he does get a chance, you often do feel like he's going to finish it off. And that's something I don't think you can teach in a striker, the ability to instantly be able to find the back of the net. But let me bring in, while that poll's running on the strikers, a little bit of news that came out where I'm like, it's not the best source. So, I'm just bringing it in because I saw it and I thought it'd be interesting. But I don't know. I'll bring it in and let me know your thoughts on this one. Manchester United are interested in Crystal Palace striker Mateta. Mateta took his game to the next level last season with 19 goals in 39 games across all competitions. The France Olympic star has continued that form this campaign with his record standing at 13 goals from 28 matches so far. Palace have tried to tie Mateta down to a new contract as his current deal expires in June 2026. No agreement has been reached yet, and this has put a host of Palace's rivals on alert. Manchester United have entered the race for Mateta, who has scored 111 career goals to date. Manchester United are far from alone in admiring the 27-year-old. 27 years old, decent age. The report adds that Chelsea, Newcastle, West Ham, Bournemouth, Aston Villa and Nottingham Forest are all keeping tabs on Mateta's situation as well. You can understand that Chelsea need a striker to compete with Nicholas Jackson. Newcastle probably need a backup to Isak, so that's understandable. West Ham, they're interested in Rasmus. They need a striker for sure. Bournemouth could do with one as well. I know they've got Evan Nilsson in, but they could do with another one. Aston Villa have obviously just let Duran go, so they could be on the lookout. Nottingham Forest, back up to Chris Wood. I can understand it. And obviously Manchester United are desperate for a striker. I'm getting it in the comments right now. I'm seeing people say no to Mateta. We need better, we need better, we need better. I get it, but I also think people are just putting it down because he's not a flashy name. Mateta, he's got pace, he's got power. Every time he plays against us, he bullies our defenders. He scores against us regularly. He's got a great record in the Premier League. He's Premier League proven. He's at a good age. He knows the pace of the league and he's thrived in it. He bullies defenders. His hold-up play is great. He runs the channels well. Ding, 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 ding. I know he's not a flashy name. I know he plays for Crystal Palace. But I tell you what, he'd definitely be an improvement on what we've got in now. He's better than Hojlund and he's better than Xerxes. It's not my top target, don't get me wrong. I'm not sat there saying, oh God, I really hope we bring in Mateta this summer. He's my number one go-to. But he absolutely would be an improvement on what we've got. And I think he'd do decently well. I'm looking at him saying, you go and get a Gyökeres or an Osimhen, and do you go and get a Mateta as well? His contract's up in June 2026. If he doesn't sign it, Crystal Palace are going to want to get at least some money for him. I'd absolutely have Mateta at Manchester United alongside another striker as well. So maybe we live in a world where Hojlund and Xerxes both go. Hojlund, West Ham, interest. Xerxes goes back to Italy. We go and get a Gyökeres or an Osimhen and you get a Mateta. People laughing at Mateta, he would do well in his team. He's Premier League proven. He scores goals. He's strong. He's quick. He's a good player. He's a number 9 that's gonna bully centre-backs, and we've missed that in Manchester United for a long time. So I do really think, just because he's not that flashy name, people put it down instantly. But through watching Crystal Palace, I always watch Mateta and say, you know what? He's a really good player. I always say he's better than Hojlund and Xerxes are. So he's someone to definitely look at. He stands out to me when I watch him in the Premier League, and if he's available for a decent price, adding squad depth to Manchester United, he could be someone to look out for. Lee Cape Town, he's also an absolute bully in the box as well, offset pieces. Lee Cape Town says, if you know, Mateta better for me than Gyökeres, to be honest. He's doing it in the Premier League week in, week out. Lee, thank you. You're seeing what I'm seeing. Now, I'm not going as far as saying he's better than Gyökeres, but I watch Mateta more. I've probably watched more games that Mateta's played in than I have with Gyökeres. Mateta is, scoring goals week in, week out, like you said. It's just because honestly, if Mateta played for, like a Milan or a Atletico Madrid or even, a Sporting Lisbon, everyone would be going, yeah, Mateta. It's because he plays for Crystal Palace. Trust me, he's a good player. Nathan Thomas, I've done that one. Thank you everyone for getting your chats in. Let me see what the poll is saying on the Gyökeres, Osimhen and Harry Kane shout. Maybe I should have added Mateta to that, but anyway, let's keep that poll going. Gavin says, I'd rather get Chris Wood. Chris Wood is a no-go because 1, Nottingham Forest aren't going to sell him, and 2, he's 33 years of age. Mateta's 27, so you're getting more longevity out of Mateta, and his contract situation is is looking good in terms of Manchester United's angle to negotiate. There's also a reason why other Premier League clubs are after him as well. I've just seen a comment coming in saying he'll get no service. He weren't getting too much service in the game at Old Trafford. Did you see whenever he did get the ball, it stuck to him and he dragged his team up the pitch? And he was a force to be reckoned with. Like, he destroyed us at Old Trafford and he didn't get loads. Every time he got the ball, he carried it up the pitch for them and he did what he needed to do. He was a bully in the box. I think he would get more out of this team than what we've currently got. And I've said this multiple times before. I'm not talking, people say British bias. It's not British bias. It's trying to make seamless transitions in a league and having players that are ready to go now. And you are, like I said on the press conference reaction, Manchester United, because our budget isn't very high and we are on the brink with FFP and PSR and we don't have loads of money to burn, the signings that we do make, because we will make signings in the summer, the signings that we do make, as Amorim said, we can't make the mistakes of the past. They have got to work, really. Not every transfer ever works. At Liverpool had some bangers, you know, Alisson, Van Dijk, but they also had like the Minaminos and the Naby Keitas of the world. Not every single transfer works out for any team. Manchester United have got to make it so the majority of them do and give them the best possible chance to succeed. And this is why I've said we have to start shopping in the Premier League more. Yes, you end up paying a little bit more money because of Premier League tax, but you know, if they are killing it in the Premier League week in, week out, you know that they have a good chance of doing that for you because they know the league, they know how it works. There's that less amount of time you need to adapt. It's a smoother transition. You know they can do it. Manchester United have not shopped in the Premier League for a long time now and they need to start doing it. I think the only players we've got from the Premier League in recent times has been Mason Mount, who can't stay fit to save his life, so you can't really fairly judge him because he can't stay fit. Christian Eriksen, who we got too late in his career, to be honest with you, and Tom Heaton. That's literally been it, I'm pretty sure, from the Prem. Whereas you look at the other top clubs and they're consistently shopping in the Premier League market and we need to be doing that because you've got a higher chance for success rate. So that's another kind of tick in Mateta's box. You've got... Simply Red says, Amorim will now stop with the experiments and hopefully make the right calls like Mainu at 10. Drop Dallo, start Xerxes, can't afford any more losses. Chris Judge says, completely agree, Beth, that Mateta is just not a flashy name. He reminds me of Louis Zaha, Alan Smith type buy that would do a job and get 15 a season. Couldn't agree with you more, Chris. Couldn't agree with you more. Imagine you had, you know, the option of a Gyökeres and a or Osimhen and then a Mateta, you would absolutely elevate our striking options tenfold. And the fact his contract's up next year gives you that negotiation room. He's 100% one to watch for me. So that's the news on Mateta. Not from a great source, it is from Team Talk, but it's something that could develop with his contract situation. And the fact he destroys Manchester United every time we see him, our scouts obviously have his number and are probably watching him as well. Then in terms of, it was interesting that super chat there just mentioned Diogo Dallo because he's another one I wanted to talk about. It's obvious that Ruben Amorim's pushing for a right wing back in the summer. It is absolutely obvious. We've had the report come out from Rob Dawson. We've had the David Ornstein drop in that we were in for Kenda, who's got a huge release clause, but United are hoping to negotiate and there's willingness from Sporting's end to negotiate and they could get it for around 40 million, 17 years of age. It's now coming out from Duncan Castles as well that Ruben Amorim is interested in Giovanni Kenda as he seeks a second new wing-back. Sporting's asking price is 50 million. Kenda has been offered to Europe's elite clubs for the summer. So Sporting are obviously willing to negotiate and cash in on Kenda. He's 17 years old. 50 million is what Duncan Castles is saying. I think David Ornstein said United were optimistic to try and get it for 40. If the asking price is 50, I'm saying 40 with a couple of add-ons would probably get that one done. So right wing back, Quenda and Dorgu could be what Manchester United are going into next season with. But not only that as well, you have news coming out that Manchester United are also in for Flamengo right back Wesley. Wesley is another player Ruben Amorim's United are hoping to bring in to help them get back in the mix for European qualification next season. As per reports, in Wesley's native Brazil, United have begun targeting a summer swoop for the 21-year-old. Wesley has yet to make a senior Brazil debut, though he's well on his way to doing so, having made a big impression on the scouts in South America. Everton were named as potential suitors for the right-back in January, but United will now aim to put themselves at the front of the queue for him in the summer. So we're now getting links to Wesley, the right-back from Flamengo. I'm going to be honest, don't know him, not watched him. I don't watch Flamengo on a regular basis, but I just find it interesting, especially considering we're starting to look in the South American market a lot more often. Diego Leon is another one that we've gotten scouted over from South America. We're starting to target that league because there is some huge prospects in there. So United have got scouts actively looking in that league, and it's a market we're trying to tap into a lot more. Quenda been mentioned, and now Wesley, another right back being mentioned. Ruben Amorim is pushing for a right wing back in the summer. Where does this leave Dalot? Because you're going to hopefully have Dorgu regularly starting at left wing back. You're going to either have, Quenda or another name, potentially right wing back. We're going to aim to get that done. We're going to have, our top target, and then you'll probably have your second and third. Just how, we had other targets other than Dorgu. You had Nuno Mendes, you had Kirkes, even Aït-Nouri was mentioned. So there will be other targets as well. If we do go and get that right wing back, which I'm pretty sure, 90% sure we will in the summer, what happens to Dalot? Well, you need more than one player in each position. You ideally need 2 top players for each position. But for Dalot's worth and what the money you could get for him, and our restrictions with FFP and PSR and how long Dalot's been at the club, I think Dalot joined the club when he was 18, 19 years old. There was rumours that Real Madrid were going to go for him in January. Obviously, that didn't end up progressing. Do you see Dalot ever kicking on as a successful wing-back in Ruben Amorim's system? Has he got enough attacking prowess to be a successful wing-back in a Ruben Amorim system? Does he become that versatile squad player that covers left, covers right? And of course he will play games, because you can't just play Dorgu and Kenda every single game, and they are young players. Kenda's 17, Dorgu's 20. Do you keep him there for that experience? I would lean towards keeping him, because I know you could probably get around £30 million for Dalot, to be honest with you, which would help us in terms of FFP and bringing profit into the club to invest. But I think when you've got such young players like Kenda and Dorgu potentially, you've got a Portuguese international there in Dalot, someone who is a leader, he's very professional, he's been name dropped by Cristiano Ronaldo as being the best trainer at Manchester United and having pure professionalism. He's got passion for the club. Benny McCarthy name dropped him, saying if everyone trained like Diogo Dalot and Bruno Fernandes, United would be in a better place. You need them key figures in the dressing room. You need them experienced players. However, under Ruben Amorim, I'm going to be honest, he has not looked great, has he? It seems like, again, he's gone backwards. He was thriving under Ten Hag, just hasn't really adapted to this wing-back role properly. Is it just adaptation time? Let me know in the comments your thoughts on that one. But I do find it interesting that Ruben Amorim's gunning for wing-backs, which is, hello, like, Ruben Amorim isn't stupid. He watches what we watch. Mazraoui and Dalot are not cutting it there. And it's a massive issue in his system, as I think why we're not scoring goals. Like, it's basically like playing a back five. It's not what Manchester United should be doing, and we're suffering in terms of in front of goal because of it. You've not got the pace, you've not got the players with natural attacking abilities on them wings. So he obviously wants to improve them positions. He's gone for Dorgu now. That left wing back spot couldn't wait. Dalot will now have opportunity at right wing back from now until the end of the season. It'll be interesting to see if Dalot manages to kick on, because Dalot might go to the right hand side and he might set the world alight, and we might kind of move away from a right wing back in the summer because of how good Dalot is. I'm not going to put my house on that. We might see it and we might say, do you know what? Even though he was super good under Ten Hag, that was a completely different position. That was inverting into the midfield. That was playing as a right back in a right back four. Has he got the ability to be consistently getting forward on that right hand side, providing what we need? It's weird with Dalot, because sometimes you see it and you think, yeah, you know what, he has. Like, remember when he had Trent Alexander-Arnold on toast? To be fair, Trent's not the best defender, is he? In terms of going backwards. Going forward is absolutely insane, but he does have them moments, Dallo, when you're like, you know, when he does his step overs and he's gliding past players and you're like, more of that. And then he'll go like a few games where it's just like nothing at all is coming from that side. But yeah, let me know in the comments your thoughts on that one. On the poll on the striker, we have 65% going for Gyökeres. I think that's the Ruben Amorim poll. 23% going for Osman and 12% going for Harry Kane. Let's run a poll now. Would you sign Mateta from Crystal Palace as a striking option? I want to know. Would you or not? Quick poll on that while I get my hot takes up, voted by you guys, and I go through them with yous as well. Got some super chats in. We have Dan Harding saying, we always talk about having hungry players. Rasmus is that. The whole team has been awful. Put anyone up front and they'd fail. Well, we can only see that if we actually do bring someone else up front and they fail as well. Like, we've not really got much option there at the minute, have we? And Simply Red says, Amorim will now stop with experiments to hopefully make the right calls. Mainu at 10. I've done that one. I really do want to see Mainu go back to 10 next game, though, in the Leicester game, I'm going to be honest. He hinted that Kobbie Mainu might play again up front. I don't think he will against Leicester. I really hope we're seeing him in the 10. I think it would be good to see Kobbie Mainu in the 10 at Old Trafford. Now, let me get some of your hot takes up. I wanted to bring this in towards the end of the show, because Matt, our graphics guy, made these based off some hot takes that you guys sent in to our United Stand Instagram account. And I wanted to get them up because, you know, I think it's just a conversation to have. Let me just get him up. Where are they? I'm reading through. Goldbridge is spamming the group chat. Spamming the group chat. Also, did you see this, by the way? Came from the Mail this morning that Wolves forward Cunha has a new release clause worth £62 million in his new contract. So everyone out there who loves Cunha, Premier League proven, seamless transition, likely to succeed, fits that number 10 spot like a glove, £62 million is his new release clause in his new Wolves contract. I think that's absolutely lovely for a player of that quality. I mean, ideally you'd want it to be around 50, 55, but that 62 million is something to think about for a player of that quality. Right, here are the hot takes. Here are the hot takes. Here are the hot takes. Where are they? Ooh. There we go. So we asked our Instagram followers to send their Manchester United hot takes, and there are some of our favourites. Which ones do you agree with? So, first one that I want you to bring in, and comment now in the live chat. Do you agree or do you disagree? United will lose their next 3 games as they adapt to Lisandro Martinez's injury. Do you think Lisandro Martinez is a huge miss in this Amorim system to the point where United will lose their next 3 games because of it? I'll start off on this one as I see your comments coming through. I disagree. I don't actually think it'll impact us as much as some people are thinking. I love Leacher. He'd be starting if he was fit. Like I've said, I think sometimes people take what you say as an extremism. The only thing I'm trying to say is I think we've got cover there. I think Mazraoui can do it. I think Maguire can do it if needs be. Like, we've got cover at centre-back. I don't think it's an absolutely huge loss. What is going to be a loss is the line-breaking passes and him driving into midfield, and I feel like his mentality and his leadership, that is going to be a loss. But I don't think it's enough to say that we will lose the next 3 games. And the majority of you guys in the chat are saying you disagree with that. Interesting. I thought more people would agree with that because I know there's a big kind of fan base for Leacher in our United Stand community. Again, thank God we went for 2 centre-backs in the summer because this system relies on it. But one thing I would say is Ruben Amorim clearly really likes Lisandro Martinez. He literally starts every game, even when he had some poor form. And he always talks well of him in the press. So that's something to think about as well. Ruben Amorim, the next one is this next hot take. If results don't change, Ruben Amorim will be sacked at the end of the season. Do you agree with that? If results don't change, Ruben Amorim will be sacked at the end of the season. kind of wait for your things to come in. No, disagree, false, no, yes, unfortunately. We're having a few yeses come through on this. We're having a few yeses. I have actually had United fans talk to me like, you know, just when you're out and about and, you know, when you're talking to your mates, you know how it goes. Unless you don't have them conversations, which I feel sorry for you for. But, you know, when you're having them conversations with your mates, and obviously people know I do the United stand, they say, oh, what do you think's going to happen with Ruben Amorim? And I say, what do you mean? What do you think's going to happen with Ruben Amorim? And they say, well, he's losing a lot of games. Like, do you reckon they'll get rid of him at the end of the season? And I'm like, no. Like, because obviously not every United fan is properly tapped into all the news, and not every United fan, you know, always watches every show on the United stand, even though they should. And they just kind of hear what other people are saying, and they kind of jump on that bandwagon, and then conversations start to spread, and they don't know all of the information. But I have generally had people come to me and say, oh, do you reckon they'll sack him at the end of the season? Like, you know, the results, or, you know, he needs to change his system, doesn't he? Like, it's not working. And I think, oh gosh, I wish you knew the state that Manchester United are in. There's no way, in my opinion, that they could sack Ruben Amorim. I mean, I wouldn't sack Ruben Amorim even if we got relegated, which we won't. But I think that's the only way that Ruben Amorim would get sacked. We already know how bad we are. It can't really get much worse. You know, we could lose a lot of games from now until the end of the season and Ruben Amorim won't get sacked. He just won't. Unless we get relegated, he won't, because everybody's kind of accepted our fate now for this season. It's sad, but everyone's accepted our fate. We've not done much in the January window. You've brought him into an absolute mess. I mean, there was rumours you wanted to go for him in the summer, but you didn't because you didn't think the squad suited him. Then you go with Ten Hag, then you sack Ten Hag, then you get Ruben Amorim in, then you don't really back him in the January transfer window at all, even though you can see the squad is a mess and doesn't suit the way he wants to play. There's no way that they can sack him. You would not be giving him a fair chance. I don't think we've got the money to sack him. And this is Ineos's guy. They will want to do everything they can to make it work. So I think they are planning to the future with Amorim. Like I said on the afternoon show, I don't think Amorim gets judged in the Premier League whatsoever until next season. Obviously, you want to be getting far in the cup competitions, the FA Cup and the Europa League. But he will get sacked at the end of the season if results continue. I don't agree. I think we'll go on a run of winning a couple, losing a couple like we have been doing. Still not won back-to-back games in the Premier League. So I think that'll be the case. It'll be inconsistent from now until the end of the season. We'll probably pull out a few decent cup wins when backs are against the wall like we've done in the past. But you've got to give him a full transfer window. And that January transfer window doesn't count. You could not sack a new manager, your first manager that you've got is Ineos in the club, without even giving him a transfer window. It would be so foolish. It would look ridiculous. And I know people are going to say, well, they sacked Dan Ashworth pretty quickly. You know, they weren't afraid to do that. This is a different ball game. We'd look so inept if we went and sacked Amorim. So there's no way. He will get a full summer transfer window. He will get a full pre-season, whether you like it or not. Whether he loses every game from now until the end of the season, which won't happen, I just don't see him going anywhere. So I would say to that one, it is a no. The next one I wanted to bring up, which kind of goes against this, is United will win the Premier League in 2028 and Ruben Amorim will become a club legend. Do you agree with that one? And have you red tinted glasses on when you answer that question? The one thing I can say, sorry, Verdi Bird just put in there a chat, wouldn't actually be surprised if they sacked him. All Ineos are good for is sacking people. They're not afraid of making big decisions in Ineos, to be fair, but they won't sack Ruben Amorim. They just won't. They just won't. It'd be so silly. Dan Ashworth, we don't actually know what went on behind the scenes. There could have been some sort of fallout and the vision just didn't align, especially with Ruben Amorim coming in. There was a rumour that Dan Ashworth and Erik ten Hag were very close. Maybe that didn't kind of bode well for Dan Ashworth in terms of keeping him. There was a rumour that he wanted to bring in Gareth Southgate and Omar Barada wanted Ruben Amorim. So you can kind of understand that one. There's nothing you can say to me that makes me understand sacking Ruben Amorim from now till the end of the season. Nothing. Just based off the last decade of our history and how we've gone through manager after manager and how Ruben Amorim has kind of presented his plan. to getting Manchester United back on track. The suffering is happening now. We are suffering now rather than in the future, rather in a couple of years' time when we'd be looking to sack another manager and start the process again. The suffering's happening now. You know, short-term pain for long-term gain. In terms of we'll win the league in 2028 and Amorim will become a club legend. Mission 150. Omar Barada said they want to win the league in 2028. I'm trying to think about it. So we're in 2025 now, so not this year. Next season is 2026. Season after is 2027, so that's 2 seasons in. So in his 3rd full season, we'll win the Premier League. Do you know what? Now, I would say no, but what I will say is things can change very quickly in football. You got most of this squad in the summer. You provide him with a striker, a right wing back, a left-sided 10, and potentially even, you know, a goalkeeper or a midfielder. Okay, you can't get everything. You go again next summer, you do what needs to be done. You could have a completely different team by that point. And Ruben Amorim, I genuinely do believe in his system and I believe in him as a manager. Look at what he did at Sporting Lisbon. The Premier League's a different kettle of fish. And you've got to look around. You know, Chelsea are building, they're not slowing down. Enzo Maresca looks like a good manager as well. You know, City are always going to have money. Arsenal with Mikel Arteta seem like they're just on the brink, although it looks like they're going to have another trophyless season at this moment in time. Newcastle are building, they're ambitious. Look at what Aston Villa did this transfer window, they're ambitious. You know, even the Bournemouths and the Brightons are like, they are doing well season upon season. The Premier League is so competitive. But I do think people fail to realise how quickly things can change in football. You know, the squad that Aston Villa took over was relegation fodder. Ruben Amorim, not Ruben Amorim, Steven Gerrard had them in the relegation zone, and look at what they've achieved since then. So things can change, and I wouldn't put it past Ruben Amorim. I wouldn't put it past him based on what he's done in the past. So people laughing at that and just completely writing it off, I would never write it off. I think there's a possibility. But for that to happen, Ineos seriously have to up their game, and I mean seriously have to up their game, because I've not been entirely impressed so far. Also, the fact that we've kind of put the regeneration of Old Trafford at the forefront, will that hinder us? Will it help us? Will they be prioritising that rather than, you know, players on the pitch? We'll have to wait and see. But a couple transfer windows and time with a manager that knows what he's doing and understands football and understands a clear direction, can do a world of good in a quick succession. Confidence, results, all that jazz. So I wouldn't completely write it off. And my red tinted glasses would like to say yes. Got a couple super chats while I get in the last bit of the poll. Would you sign Mateta? 58% say no and 42% say yes. To that I would say, start watching Crystal Palace week in, week out. He's a good striker that would improve us, honestly. Colin Bolger says, a broken plane, a broken dream, a broken heart, a broken team. No word said, a silent vow. We loved you then, we loved you now. The Busby Babes, R.I.P. Yeah, R.I.P. to the Busby Babes on this day where we remember them. We remember them, and it's a huge part of Manchester United's history. It's what this football club was built upon, and we all remember them on this day. A lovely super chat in there from Colin Bolger. Class of 99 says, with the transfer window closed now, we have to get it right. No more playing players out of position and trying to prove a point. We'll see what he's made of. He was trying to prove a point, but also, you know, I thought Kobbie Mainoo actually looked a bit better than what Hojlund and Xerxes looked like in recent weeks, especially for the first half. Don't know what you think. Obviously, it wasn't absolutely unbelievable. It wasn't like putting Isak up front. By the way, Isak is the standard. Did you see him last night for Newcastle? He was top quality, bullying Gabriel and Saliba. That's the standard. When people tell me it's all about service, it's all about service. You could put anyone in that team. Look at what Isak was doing. Like, that is an improvement on what we have, without a doubt. Mr. Starfish says, will Garnacho go in the summer? I think there's a very big chance he will. I think there's a very big chance he will. I think it all depends on now until the end of the season. Will he kick on? And if he doesn't kick on, and Ruben Amorim needs the money, and there's players like Cunha who have a £62 million release clause, it's something I think that will be looked at. I think it all depends on how well he does now. I think a lot of players are on trial for Manchester United from now until the end of the season. I think no one's safe. I think a lot of players are on trial. Joshua Zirkzee and Rasmus Hojlund are two big ones. I think other players as well, players that you might not even think are on trial from now until the end of the season. So I wouldn't say anybody is off the table for a sale in the summer, to be honest with you. Apart from Casemiro, because he's on 350 grand a week and his contract's still next year and nobody's coming near him with a barge pole, are they? But yeah, it is what it is, unfortunately. Anyway, guys, I will round off the show and just say RIP to the Busby Babes, Flowers of Manchester. Thank you, everyone, for getting your comments in and showing your respect as well in the chat. Thank you for everyone for getting involved. Thank you for all the super chats and all the interaction on the polls today. I know, today is a very memorable day for Manchester United fans and we all pay our respects. So thank you to everyone for doing that and for all the respect that are in the comments tonight. Thank you to everyone for watching, getting your comments in. We agree, we disagree on this channel, but it's all about the community and I love hearing different points of view. Like I said, I've been talking about needing a striker for so long. I read out at the start of the show the different comment from my press conference about the other positions we need to improve first. Always open for conversation. But thank you for watching. If you want a good laugh for the rest of your evening, head over to Goldbridge's Twitter. He is drunk tweeting and go and have a look at that. But thank you everyone for watching. Tomorrow is the game in the FA Cup against Leicester. Really excited to see Patrick Dorgu potentially. Hoping he starts. More on that will be out on the road trip. That'll be out tomorrow. My thoughts on that. Hit a like on the video if you've not already. Wishing Kev speedy recovery. I know he usually does the 8 PM shows, but he's recovering from surgery right now. Some say he's going to be back in action quicker than Luke Shaw will be. Thank you for watching, everyone, and I will see you on the next one.